Picture this. You're about to step outside on a freezing winter morning. You pull up your weather app, and it clearly says the temperature is exactly 0 degrees Celsius. But right underneath that, there's a little line that makes you do a double take. It says, feels like -15. You've totally seen this before, right? 0 degrees, but it feels incredibly colder. So why does this happen? Is the app glitching? Is the thermometer just lying to you? No way. That feels like temperature is actually our first major clue into the incredibly powerful physics mechanism we're uncovering today. It's not a mistake, it's a massive transfer of energy. By the end of this explainer, you're going to completely understand the concept driving this, the exact math behind it, and how to apply it to real-world scenarios. We'll be moving through the wind chill mystery, how convection works, calculating heat transfer, the power of phase changes, Earth's giant convection engines, and finally, a summary and next steps. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The wind chill mystery. Take a look at this highlighted data point right here. If you're standing in 0-degree air, but the wind is whipping past you at 15 meters per second, your body is losing heat at the exact same rate as if you were standing in completely dead, still air at -18 degrees Celsius. Literally, the moving wind is stripping the heat away from your skin way, way faster than still air ever could. It's basically a thermal vacuum. Section 2. How convection works.
So the core concept we're talking about here is convection. We define this as heat transfer driven by the macroscopic, large-scale flow of matter. To visualize this, I want you to picture a giant conveyor belt. See, unlike conduction, where heat just kind of passes from one static molecule to the next through a solid block of something, convection requires actual physical mass to move from one place to another. It's physically carrying the thermal energy along with it. And this thermal conveyor belt comes in two flavors, natural and forced. Natural convection is driven entirely by buoyant forces. When air or liquid heats up, it expands, gets less dense, and floats upward. Think of hot air naturally rising from a gravity furnace, or a pot of water boiling on your stove, where the hot water rises and the cold water sinks in this continuous rolling loop. On the flip side, we have forced convection. This is driven by external mechanics. Think of a fan pushing air across a room, the water pump in your car's engine keeping it from overheating, or, hey, even your own heart pumping warm blood straight to your skin. Now here's a quick question for you to test your intuition. If moving air steals heat so aggressively, how in the world do animals survive out in the freezing cold? Well, the answer reveals a really brilliant physics paradox. Air itself is actually a terrible conductor of heat. It only transfers heat well when it's acting like that moving conveyor belt. So if you can trap air in tiny microscopic spaces, basically stopping it from moving, you completely kill the convective loop. The trapped air suddenly becomes an amazing insulator. This is exactly how animal fur, the fluffy fiberglass insulation inside your walls, and that trapped gap of air in double-paned windows keep things so cozy and warm.
Section 3. Calculating heat transfer.
All right, it's time to shift gears from theory to mathematical mastery. How do we actually calculate the energy moving on this conveyor belt? Imagine you live in an older, drafty house on a freezing winter day. We want to figure out exactly how much power your heater needs to warm up that freezing air leaking inside. We do this in 3 logical steps. Step 1, find the total mass of the cold air by multiplying the air's density by the volume of your house. Step 2, calculate the total heat needed to warm that mass using our classic thermal equation, Q equals mc delta T. And step 3, determine the power, which is just the rate of heat transfer, by dividing that total heat, Q, by the time T it takes for the house's air to completely turn over. Let's plug some real numbers into this. Say your house holds 836 kilograms of air, and a massive draft completely replaces all that air every 30 minutes. If we want to warm that newly incoming air by 10 degrees Celsius, plugging our numbers into those 3 steps tells us that replacing the convective heat loss requires 4.64 kilowatts of continuous power. Just to put that into perspective for a second, that is the equivalent of leaving roughly 46 100-watt light bulbs turned on all at the exact same time, just to fight off a draft. Pretty wild, right?
Section 4. The power of phase changes. Now that was a massive amount of energy, but hold on because we are about to multiply it. What happens when we combine convection with water changing its physical state? Here's a classic question that trips a lot of students up. Why do we sweat even when the surrounding air is hotter than our body temperature?
Think about it for a second. If the air outside is 40 degrees Celsius and your body is at its normal 37 degrees, heat should naturally flow from the hot air into you. So how on earth does sweating save you from overheating?
Well, the secret lies in this incredibly specific number, the latent heat of vaporization, 2,430 joules per gram. Every single gram of liquid sweat that evaporates and turns into a gas pulls a massive 2,430 joules of thermal energy directly out of your skin. It takes an enormous amount of heat to force that phase change from liquid to gas, and the water steals that heat right from your body, creating a huge rapid cooling effect.
But here is the crucial catch where our whole lesson ties together. Sweating alone just isn't enough. If there's zero airflow, that tiny pocket of air right next to your skin quickly becomes 100% saturated with humidity. And once the air is completely full of water vapor, evaporation just stops. You don't cool down, you just feel incredibly hot and sticky. But if you introduce forced convection, like turning on a desk fan, that moving air continuously blows away the saturated, humid air and replaces it with fresh, dry air. This allows the massive cooling power of evaporation to keep running nonstop. And that right there is exactly why a fan feels so incredibly refreshing on a blistering hot day. Section 5. Earth's Giant Convection Engines.
Let's take this exact same principle, convection combined with a phase change, and scale it all the way up to planetary levels. How does nature build a violent thunderhead cloud that reaches 20 kilometers up into the stratosphere? It's a brutal four-step process. First, the warm ocean evaporates water, which, remember, is a phase change that absorbs heat. Second, natural convection carries that warm, humid air way up high. Third, as it reaches colder, high altitudes, the vapor condenses back into liquid water droplets. But wait, if evaporating absorbs heat, condensing releases all that stored energy back into the atmosphere. Fourth, that sudden, massive release of heat warms the surrounding air, causing it to expand, become less dense, and shoot upward even faster. It creates this relentless, towering positive feedback loop that generates massive storms and even hurricanes. And we see this phenomenal power playing out in the oceans too. When a massive iceberg drifts from the freezing waters of Greenland down into the warmer Atlantic, it acts as a planetary-scale convective heat transfer. As the ice melts, which is yet another phase change, it absorbs tremendous amounts of thermal energy from the warm ocean. This literally cools the surrounding waters and helps regulate Earth's entire global climate system. It's truly awe-inspiring.
Section 6. Summary and next steps.
We have covered a ton of ground today, so let's lock in what we've learned. Here are your crucial takeaways. Number 1, convection is the macroscopic movement of mass. The fluid itself acts as a physical conveyor belt for heat. 2, it can be natural, driven by the buoyancy of hot air rising, or forced by mechanical means like fans and pumps. 3, trapping air in tiny pockets absolutely stops these loops, turning a normally poor conductor into a brilliant insulator. And 4, whenever you combine convection with a phase change, like evaporating sweat or condensing storm clouds, you drastically multiply the amount of heat being transferred.
So, we've successfully fulfilled our promise for today's explainer. We now know exactly how heat travels through moving fluids and gases. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. If convection relies entirely on the physical movement of matter to carry heat, how on earth does the sun's immense heat reach us through the completely empty vacuum of space, where there's absolutely no matter to move? That is the